Jake Parker wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the broken fence post. The wood was old and rotten, just like half the things on his ranch. He had been working on this fence for 3 hours and the sun was getting hot. His cattle needed this fence fixed before they wandered off into the hills. He picked up his hammer and started driving in another nail. The sound echoed across the empty valley. Jake lived alone on his ranch in Montana, 20 miles from the nearest town. He liked it that way. After 20 years in the Navy, he wanted peace and quiet. The sky was clear blue without a single cloud. Jake had checked the weather that morning, and it was supposed to be a perfect day. That's why he was so surprised when the sky suddenly lit up like lightning, but this wasn't lightning. A bright orange streak cut across the sky, burning like a falling star. Jake dropped his hammer and stared up at the strange sight. The streak was moving fast, leaving a trail of smoke behind it. It was heading toward the hills near Bear Creek. Jake heard a sound like thunder, but deeper and longer. The ground shook under his feet. Whatever was in the sky had just crashed into the earth somewhere beyond the pine trees. Most people would have called the sheriff or the fire department. Jake thought about it for maybe 2 seconds, then he remembered his training. 20 years. As a Navy corpsman had taught him that when something bad happened, someone usually needed help. And help couldn't wait for the authorities to arrive. Jake ran to his garage and grabbed his medical kit. It was a big green bag filled with bandages, medicines, and tools he had learned to use in the Navy. He also took a flashlight, some water bottles, and a blanket. He threw everything into the back of his ATV. The four-wheeler roared to life, and Jake headed toward the crash site. He knew these hills well. He had been hunting and fishing in them for 5 years, ever since he bought the ranch. The smoke was rising from somewhere near Bear Creek, about 2 miles away. Jake drove as fast as he dared over the rough ground. The ATV bounced and jumped over rocks and fallen logs. Tree branches scratched at his arms, but he didn't slow down. Whoever was in that crash might be dying. The smell hit him first. It was like burning metal mixed with something else he couldn't identify. The smoke was thick and black, rising up through the trees like a dark pillar. Jake left his ATV at the edge of the forest and walked the rest of the way. The crash site was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. A deep crater had been carved into the earth, at least 30 feet across. Twisted pieces of metal were scattered everywhere, some still glowing red-hot. In the center of the crater sat what was left of some kind of vehicle, but it wasn't like any vehicle Jake had ever seen. The metal was smooth and curved in ways that didn't make sense. Strange symbols were carved into the surface, and lights were flashing in patterns that hurt to look at. This wasn't a plane or a helicopter or anything else from Earth. Jake stood at the edge of the crater and tried to understand what he was seeing. The vehicle was badly damaged, but part of it was still in one piece. Through a crack in the side, he could see movement inside. Something was alive in there. Jake didn't hesitate. He grabbed his medical kit and climbed down into the crater. The heat was intense, and the strange metal was warm to the touch. He found an opening in the side of the vehicle and squeezed through. Inside was even stranger than outside. The walls were covered with panels that glowed with soft light. Some of the panels were cracked and sparking. The air smelled sharp and bitter like electricity and chemicals, and there, slumped over what looked like a control panel, was the pilot. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The pilot was definitely not human. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with skin that had a blue tint to it. Her hair was silver and long, tied back in a complex braid. She was wearing some kind of armor that looked like it grew from her skin rather than being put on. Blood was running down her face, but the blood was silver instead of red. Her eyes were closed and her breathing was shallow. Jake could see that. She was badly hurt. For a moment, Jake just stared. He was looking at proof that humans were not alone in the universe. An alien being was sitting right in front of him, and she was dying. His medical training kicked in. Jake didn't care if she was from Mars or the other side of the galaxy. She was hurt and needed help. He checked her pulse by putting his fingers on her neck. Her skin was warm and he could feel a heartbeat. Though it was faster than a human's, the lights on the control panels were flashing faster now. and Jake could hear a high-pitched whining sound. Something was wrong with the ship, and it was getting worse. He needed to get the alien out of there. Jake put his arms around the alien woman and lifted her. She was heavier than a human woman would be, but not impossible to carry. Her armor was smooth and hard like ceramic, but it was warm to the touch. He carried her toward the opening in the side of the ship. The whining sound was getting louder, and the lights were flashing red now. Jake had a bad feeling about what was coming next. He was halfway to the opening when the ship's power cord decided to explode. The blast threw Jake and the alien woman out of the crater and into the trees. Jake rolled and covered the woman with his body as burning pieces of metal rained down around them. The explosion was so loud it left his ears ringing. When the debris stopped falling, Jake looked back at the crater. The alien ship was completely destroyed, nothing left but twisted metal and a few small fires. Black smoke rose up into the clear Montana sky. Jake checked the alien woman. She was still breathing, but she needed medical attention fast. He couldn't take her to a hospital. How would he explain an alien to the doctors and nurses? And what would the government do if they found out about her? He made a decision that would change his life forever. Jake picked up the alien woman and carried her to his ATV. He laid her across the back seat and covered her with the blanket. Then he drove back to his ranch as fast as he could. His house was small and simple, just 3 bedrooms and a kitchen. Jake carried the alien woman to his guest room and laid her on the bed. He turned on all the lights and opened his medical kit. For the next 6 hours, Jake worked to save the life of someone who wasn't even from his planet. He cleaned her wounds with water and antiseptic. He bandaged the cuts on her arms and head. He gave her water and checked her temperature every hour. The alien woman's fever broke just before dawn. Jake was sitting in a chair beside the bed, exhausted and worried. He had done everything he could think of, but he wasn't sure it would be enough. As the sun came up over the Montana hills, Jake looked at the alien woman sleeping in his guest room. He had no idea who she was, where she came from, or why she had crashed on Earth, but he had saved her life, and somehow he knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Outside, the morning was quiet and peaceful. His cattle were grazing in the field, and the broken fence still needed to be fixed. But Jake Parker's simple life as a rancher was over. He just didn't know it yet. Jake woke up to the sound of breaking glass. He jumped out of his chair and ran to the guest room. The alien woman was awake and standing by the window. She had thrown a water glass at the wall and was looking around the room like a trapped animal. When she saw Jake, she moved faster than any human could move. 1 second, she was by the window. The next second, she had Jake pinned against the wall. Her hand was around his throat, and her eyes were bright blue and angry. "Where are my weapons?" she demanded. Her voice was deep and had a strange accent. "What have you done with my armor?" Jake couldn't speak with her hand on his throat. He pointed to the closet where he had put her armor and the strange weapons he had found in the crash. The alien woman looked at the closet, then back at Jake. She seemed confused. "You saved my life," she said. It wasn't a question. She could smell the antiseptic and see the bandages on her arms. "Why?" Jake managed to speak. "You were hurt. I'm a medic." "It's what I do." The alien woman stared at him for a long moment. Then she let go of his throat and stepped back. Jake rubbed his neck and tried to catch his breath. "I am Zara of the Kethmoran Empire," she said. "I am a scout warrior of the 5th Fleet. You are human, Jake Parker," he said. "And yes, I'm human." "You're on Earth." Zara sat down on the bed. She looked tired and confused. "This is not possible. Humans are not supposed to be able to help us. You are a primitive species." Jake felt a flash of anger. "Primitive? I saved your life with primitive human medicine?" "Yes," Zara said quietly. "You did. And now I have a problem." She looked at Jake with those bright blue eyes. "In my culture, a life debt is the most sacred thing. If someone saves your life, you owe them everything. But you are human, and my people are coming to conquer your world." Jake felt cold. "Conquer? You mean invade?" "The 5th Fleet is 3 weeks away from Earth," Zara said. "I was sent ahead to study your defenses and report back. Your world has been marked for conquest." We take what we want, and we want your planet." "Why?" Jake asked. "We've never done anything to you." "Because we can," Zara said. "The Kethmoran Empire takes worlds that cannot defend themselves. We have done this 1,000 times on 1,000 worlds. It is our way." Jake sat down in his chair. "So you're telling me that in 3 weeks, your people are going to invade Earth and there's nothing we can do about it?" "That was the plan," Zara said. "But now there is a problem." "You saved my life? By the laws of my people, I owe you a life debt. I cannot be part of conquering your world while I owe you this debt." "So what happens now?" Jake asked. "I don't know," Zara said. "This has never happened before. A primitive species has never saved the life of a Kethmoran warrior." Jake stood up. "Stop calling us primitive. We may not have spaceships, but we're not stupid. We have our own ways of doing things." Zara looked at him with interest. "Show me." For the next 3 days, Jake showed Zara around his ranch. He explained how he fixed machines, how he took care of his cattle, and how he grew crops. Zara was surprised by how much Jake knew about medicine, engineering, and agriculture. "You do all this yourself?" she asked as they watched the cattle graze. "Most of it," Jake said. "Sometimes I get help from my neighbors, but mostly I handle things alone." "On my world, we have specialists for everything," Zara said. "One person to fix machines, one person to grow food, one person to heal injuries. You do the work of many people. We adapt," Jake said. "Humans are good at adapting to new situations." Zara was quiet for a moment. "My people value strength above all else. We think strength means being able to defeat enemies in battle, but you have a different kind of strength." "What do you mean?" "You saw a stranger crash from the sky. You didn't know if I was dangerous. You didn't know if helping me would put you in danger, but you helped me anyway. That takes a different kind of strength." Jake showed Zara his workshop, where he repaired farm equipment and built things he needed. She was amazed by how he could make new parts from old metal and fix complicated machines with simple tools. "This is impossible," she said, watching him rebuild a tractor engine. "You don't have the proper equipment." "I make do with what I have," Jake said. "Humans are good at that too." On the 3rd day, Zara made a decision. "I need to contact my fleet and tell them that I'm alive. But I also need to find a way to stop them from attacking your world." "Can you do that?" Jake asked. "There is one way," Zara said. "But it's dangerous and it involves you." She explained that the Kethmoran Empire had an old tradition. Before they conquered a world, they would challenge the strongest warrior that world could produce. If that warrior could defeat their champion, in single combat the world would be spared. "But no one has ever won," Zara said. "The challenge is just for show. We let them try, then we conquer them anyway." "So why would this be different?" Jake asked. "Because I would nominate you as Earth's champion," Zara said. "And as your trainer, I would be honor-bound to give you a real chance to win." Jake laughed. "I'm a rancher, not a warrior. I can't fight alien champions." "You saved my life," Zara said. "You have courage and intelligence. Those are more important than size or strength." "This is crazy," Jake said. "It's your world's only chance," Zara said. "If you refuse, the fleet will arrive and destroy your civilization. If you accept, you have a chance to save everyone." Jake looked out across his ranch at the cattle grazing peacefully in the afternoon sun. He thought about the billions of people on Earth who had no idea that aliens were coming to conquer them. He thought about his quiet life that was about to end whether he wanted it to or not. "If I do this," he said, "will you teach me what I need to know?" "I will teach you everything I can," Zara said. "But Jake, you need to understand something. The Kethmoran champion is the strongest warrior in the galaxy. He has never been defeated. The challenge is not meant to be fair." "Nothing in life is fair," Jake said. "But sometimes you have to try anyway." Zara smiled for the first time since she had awakened. "Now you sound like a warrior." That night, Jake sent a message to his neighbors saying he was going out of town for a few weeks. He arranged for someone to take care of his cattle. He locked up his house and put away his tools. Then he began training to fight for the survival of the human race. Zara contacted her fleet and told them she was alive, she reported. That Earth had a champion who would accept the challenge. The fleet commanders were amused. Another primitive world thought it could stand against the might of the Kethmoran Empire. They agreed to the challenge. In 2 weeks, they would arrive at Earth and set up the arena. The human champion would face their greatest warrior in combat. That would be broadcast across the galaxy. Jake had 2 weeks to learn how to fight like an alien warrior. 2 weeks to prepare for a battle that would decide the fate of every person on Earth. As he watched the sunset over his ranch, Jake realized that his simple life was truly over. But maybe, just maybe, he could save the world that had been his home. Jake woke up before dawn on the 4th day. His whole body hurt from the training. Zara had put him through exercises that seemed impossible for a human to do. She made him lift heavy rocks, run up steep hills, and practice fighting moves that twisted his body in ways it wasn't meant to go. "You're too slow," Zara said as Jake struggled to keep up with her morning routine. "And you think too much. In battle, thinking will get you killed." "I'm not built like you," Jake said, breathing hard. "Humans don't move that fast." "Then you need to be smarter," Zara said. "You cannot match Drax's strength or speed, but you can use what humans do best." "What's that?" "You adapt. You find new ways to solve problems. You use whatever you have to win." Zara had told him about Drax Kethmor, the champion he would face. Drax was 9 feet tall and covered in armor that was part machine, part living creature. He had never lost a fight. He had killed champions from 100 different worlds. "How am I supposed to beat someone like that?" Jake asked. "By being human," Zara said. "By doing what he doesn't expect." They practiced in Jake's barn, which Zara had turned into a training ground. She had moved all the farm equipment to one side and covered the floor with mats. She taught Jake how to fight with his hands, with weapons, and with his mind. "The Kethmoran way of fighting is about power," she explained. "We attack straight ahead with all our strength. We believe that the strongest warrior should win." "But that's not the only way to fight," Jake said. "No," Zara agreed. "Humans fight differently. You use tricks, you change tactics, you turn weakness into strength." She showed him how to use an enemy's size against them, how to make a bigger opponent lose balance, how to find weak spots in armor and weapons, how to use the environment as a weapon. "The arena will be designed to favor Drax," Zara said. "But if you study it carefully, you can find ways to use it against him." Jake learned fast. 20 years in the Navy had taught him how to stay calm under pressure and how to learn new skills quickly. But this was different from anything he had done before. On the 7th day, visitors started arriving at the ranch. Jake was practicing with a training sword when he heard helicopters overhead. He looked up to see 3 military aircraft landing in his field. Soldiers in camouflage uniforms jumped out and surrounded the barn. "Jake Parker?" The officer in charge was a tall woman with short blonde hair. "I'm Colonel Lisa Murphy, United States Air Force. We need to talk." Jake looked at Zara, who nodded. They had expected this to happen. The crash had been too big to keep secret forever. "We know about the crash," Colonel Murphy said. "We've been tracking unusual energy readings from your property for a week. We also know you're hiding something. What do you want?" Jake asked. "The truth," Colonel Murphy said. "Satellite photos show you pulling something from the crash site, something big." "Where is it?" Zara stepped out of the shadows. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Colonel Murphy held up her hand. "My name is Zara," she said. "I am from the Kethmoran Empire, and your world is in great danger." For the next hour, Zara explained everything. The coming invasion, the challenge, and Jake's role as Earth's champion. Colonel Murphy and her team listened in silence. "You're telling me that in 1 week, an alien fleet is going to arrive and demand that one of our people fight their champion?" Colonel Murphy asked. "Yes," Zara said. "If Jake loses, they will destroy your cities and enslave your people. If he wins, they will leave your world alone. Why should we trust you?" Colonel Murphy asked. "Because I have nothing to gain by lying," Zara said. If I wanted to help my people conquer Earth, I would have reported that you have no defenses. Instead, I'm training your champion to defeat us. Colonel Murphy looked at Jake. And you agreed to this? Someone has to, Jake said. If there's a chance to save everyone, I have to try. You're a rancher, Colonel Murphy said, not a soldier. I was a Navy corpsman for 20 years, Jake said. I've been in combat before, and Zara is teaching me how to fight their way. Colonel Murphy made a decision. We're taking you both to a secure facility. The president needs to know about this. No, Zara said. If you interfere, the challenge will be canceled. The fleet will attack immediately. Then what do you suggest? Colonel Murphy asked. Let us finish the training, Zara said. When the fleet arrives, let them see that Earth has a champion who is ready to fight. That's the only way this works. Colonel Murphy talked to her superiors on a secure radio. After an hour, she came. Back, the president has been briefed, she said. Against all common sense, we're going to let this happen. But we're staying here to observe and assist if needed. The soldiers set up a camp in Jake's field. Colonel Murphy and her team watched the training sessions and asked questions about Kethmoran technology and tactics. Their weapons are energy-based, Zara explained. They can cut through most Earth materials. But they have limits. They overheat if used too much. What about their armor? Colonel Murphy asked. It's alive, Zara said. It adapts to threats and heals itself. But it also has weaknesses. It needs time to analyze new attacks. Jake learned to use these weaknesses. He practiced hitting the same spot over and over to overwhelm the armor's healing. He learned to change his attack patterns to confuse the armor's adaptation systems. You're getting better, Zara said on the 10th day. But you're still not ready. I'm out of time. Jake sighed. They'll be here in 4 days. Then we need to work on your mind, Zara said. Fighting is not just about the body. It's about will and determination. She told him about the Kethmoran culture, how they valued strength and conquest above all else, how they saw other species as inferior and weak. They think humans are animals? She said, they don't believe you can think or plan or adapt. Use that against them. How? Be unpredictable. Do things that make no sense to them. Show them that humans are not what they think we are. Jake spent the next 3 days learning about his enemy. He studied recordings of Drax's previous fights. He learned how the champion moved, how he thought, how he reacted to different situations. He's arrogant, Jake realized. He thinks he's unbeatable. All Kethmoran warriors are arrogant, Zara said. But Drax is worse than most. He has never faced a real challenge. He expects his opponents to be afraid. I am afraid, Jake admitted. Good, Zara said. Fear keeps you alive, but don't let it control you. On the 13th day, the sky changed. Ships appeared overhead, so large they blocked out the sun. The Kethmoran fleet had arrived. Jake stood in his field and looked up at the massive vessels. Each one was miles long and covered with weapons. There were dozens of them, enough to destroy every city on Earth. It's time, Zara said. A beam of light came down from the largest ship. When it faded, 3 Kethmoran warriors stood in Jake's field. They were tall and imposing, covered in armor that gleamed like metal. I am Commander Vex, the leader said. We have come for the challenge. Where is your champion? Jake stepped forward. I'm Jake Parker. I'm Earth's champion. Commander Vex looked at him and laughed. This is your strongest warrior? This small human? I accept the challenge, Jake said. Very well, Commander Vex said. The combat will take place tomorrow. On our ship, the rules are simple. You fight until one of you is dead. If you win, we leave your world. If you lose, your species becomes our slaves. Jake nodded. I understand. Prepare yourself, human, Commander Vex said. Tomorrow you face Drax Kethmor, the greatest warrior in the galaxy. He has never known defeat. The Kethmoran warriors vanished in the same beam of light. Jake looked at Zara. Are you ready for this? The question is, are you ready? she asked. Jake thought about his quiet ranch, his cattle, his simple life. He thought about the billions of people on Earth who were counting on him. He thought about everything Zara had taught him. "I'm ready," he said. Tomorrow he would fight for the survival of the human race. Jake barely slept that night. He kept thinking about the fight that would decide everything. In the morning, he ate a simple breakfast and put on the clothes Zara had given him. The outfit was made from alien materials that would protect him. Better than human armor. "Remember everything I taught you," Zara said, as they walked to the beam of light that would take them to the ship. "Don't try to match his strength. Use your mind." Colonel Murphy and her team watched from a safe distance. The entire world was watching too. Every television and radio station on Earth was broadcasting the event. People everywhere had stopped what they were doing to see if one man could save them all. The beam of light lifted Jake and Zara up to the massive ship. Jake felt his stomach drop as they rose higher and higher. The ship was even bigger than it had looked from the ground. It was like a floating city made of dark metal. They appeared in a large room filled with alien technology. Commander Vex was waiting for them along with a dozen other Kethmoran officers. They all looked at Jake like he was some kind of interesting animal. "The human champion," Commander Vex said. "Are you ready to die for your pathetic species?" "I'm ready to fight," Jake said. Commander Vex led them through corridors that seemed to go on forever. The walls were covered with strange symbols and glowing panels. Other aliens stopped to stare at Jake as he passed. Some of them laughed and pointed. "They think this is funny," Zara whispered. "They've never seen a human before." "Good," Jake said. "Let them underestimate me." They reached the arena, and Jake's breath caught in his throat. It was enormous, bigger than any stadium on Earth. The floor was made of black metal, and the walls rose up in steep tiers filled with thousands of alien spectators. Screens showed the arena to millions more watchers across the galaxy. In the center of the arena stood Drax Kethmor. Jake had seen pictures of him, but seeing him in person was different. Drax was 9 feet tall and built like a machine. His armor wasn't just worn, it was part of him. Cables and tubes connected pieces of metal to his skin. His face was half covered by a metal mask that glowed with red lights. "So this is Earth's champion," Drax said. His voice was amplified by speakers so everyone could hear. "I was hoping for more of a challenge." The crowd laughed and cheered. Jake looked around at thousands of alien faces, all expecting him to die. On the screens, he could see people on Earth watching in their homes, in bars, in public squares. Everyone was counting on him. "The rules are simple," Commander Vex announced. "Fight until one of you cannot continue. The winner decides the fate of Earth." Drax activated his weapons. Energy blades extended from his arms, glowing bright blue. They hummed with power and left trails of light in the air. Jake drew his own weapon, a sword that Zara had made for him. It was simple compared to Drax's energy blades, but it was balanced perfectly for his hands. "Begin." Commander Vex shouted. Drx charged forward like a bull, his energy blades cutting through the air. Jake dove to the side, barely avoiding the attack. The blades cut deep grooves in the arena floor where he had been standing. "Too slow, human." Drax laughed. Jake rolled and came up running. He couldn't match Drax's speed, but he could be unpredictable. He ran toward the wall of the arena, then jumped and pushed off with his feet. He came at Drax from an angle the alien didn't expect. His sword struck Drax's armor, but the living metal absorbed the blow. The armor glowed for a moment and returned to normal. "My armor adapts to every attack," Drax said. "You cannot hurt me." Jake backed away, thinking fast. The armor could adapt, but it needed time to analyze each attack. If he could hit the same spot repeatedly, maybe he could overwhelm it. Drax came at him again, swinging both energy blades. Jake ducked under one and deflected the other with his sword. The energy blade cut halfway through his weapon, but it held. Jake aimed for the same spot on Drax's chest armor and struck 3 times in rapid succession. The armor glowed brighter with each hit, struggling to adapt. "Interesting," Drax said, "but not enough." The alien warrior grabbed Jake and threw him across the arena. Jake hit the wall hard and slid to the ground. His ribs hurt and he could taste blood in his mouth. The crowd cheered for Drax. On the screens, Jake could see people on Earth watching in horror. He was losing and everyone knew it. Jake got back to his feet. His sword was badly damaged, with cracks running through the blade. Against Drax's energy weapons, it wouldn't last much longer. "Give up, human," Drax said. "I will make your death quick." "Not today," Jake said. He looked around the arena, studying everything Zara had taught him. The floor was smooth metal, but there were patterns etched into it. Cooling vents were built into the walls. The arena wasn't just a fighting space, it was a machine. Jake had an idea. It was crazy, but it might work. He ran toward one of the cooling vents with Drax chasing behind him. The aliens' energy blades were getting brighter and hotter from the fight. Jake could feel the heat on his back as Drax got closer. At the last second, Jake dove and rolled away from the vent. Drax's momentum carried him forward, and his overheated energy blades struck the cooling system. Sparks flew everywhere. The cooling system overloaded and exploded, sending pieces of metal flying. Drax stumbled backward, his armor smoking. "You fight like a coward," Drax shouted. "I fight like a human," Jake said. He attacked while Drax was off balance, aiming for the joints in the armor where the cables connected. His damaged sword cut through two of the cables before breaking completely. Drax's left arm went limp as the cable sparked and failed. The alien warrior looked surprised for the first time. "How did you know?" Drax asked. "I'm an engineer," Jake said. "I know how systems work, and I know how to break them." Drax's remaining energy blade flickered and dimmed. The cooling system failure was affecting his entire armor system. Jake had turned the arena itself into a weapon. "This is impossible," Drax said. "You are a primitive species." "We're adaptive," Jake said. "We use what we have." With only one working arm, Drax was slower and less coordinated. Jake stayed close, using his smaller size to his advantage. He struck at more cables, more joints, more weak points in the armor. Each hit made Drax weaker. The living armor was failing, unable to adapt to the cascade of system failures Jake had started. "You cannot defeat me," Drax roared. "I am the greatest warrior in the galaxy." "Maybe," Jake said. "But I'm the smartest fighter in this arena." Jake grabbed a piece of metal from the broken cooling system and used it to short-circuit the main power cable on Drax's back. The alien's armor went dark and he collapsed to his knees. The arena fell silent. Thousands of alien spectators stared. In shock, on the screens, people on Earth were cheering and crying. Jake stood over the fallen champion, breathing hard. "Do you yield?" Drax looked up at him with hatred in his eyes. "I yield," he said quietly. Commander Vex stepped into the arena. He looked stunned. "The human has won. By the laws of our people, Earth is free from conquest." Jake had done it. He had saved the world. The crowd was silent as Jake walked out of the arena. He had proven that humans were not primitive. He had shown the galaxy that Earth's people were worth respecting. As he left the arena, Jake saw Zara waiting for him with a proud smile on her face. "You did well, champion," she said. "I had a good teacher," Jake replied. The fight was over, but Jake knew his life would never be the same. He had become something more than a rancher. He had become humanity's first hero in the galaxy. After the fight, Jake and Zara were taken to a different part of the ship. This room was smaller and more comfortable, with chairs that seemed to be made for important meetings. Commander Vex was there, along with several other high-ranking officers Jake hadn't seen before. "The Council of Fleet Commanders wants to speak with you," Commander Vex said to Jake. "What you did today has never happened before." Jake sat down in one of the chairs. He was tired and sore from the fight, but he tried to look alert. These aliens would decide what happened to Earth next. The fleet commanders were impressive beings. They were taller than even Zara, and their armor was more elaborate. Each one had markings that showed their rank and the worlds they had conquered. "Human champion," the lead commander said. "I am High Commander Kral. What you accomplished today should not have been possible. I got lucky," Jake said. "No," High Commander Kral said. "Luck does not defeat our greatest warrior. You showed intelligence, adaptability, and courage. These are qualities we respect. Another commander spoke up. For 1,000 years, the Kethmoran Empire has conquered worlds. We take what we want. Because we are stronger, but you have shown us something new. What's that? Jake asked. That strength is not just about size and weapons, High Commander Krall said. Your species may be physically weak, but you have a different kind of power. You can solve problems in ways we never thought of. Jake looked at Zara, who was smiling. She had been right about humans being different. What does this mean for Earth? Jake asked. High Commander Krall stood up. The Kethmoran Empire makes you an offer that has never been made before. Instead of conquering your world, we invite you to join us as equals. Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. Equals? Your people have something we need, High Commander. Krall said, you can adapt and innovate in ways we cannot. In return, we can offer you technology and protection. Together, we could become stronger than either of us alone. I can't make that decision for my whole planet, Jake said. We understand, High Commander Krall said. We will give your leaders time to consider our offer, but we hope they will accept. The galaxy is a dangerous place, and having allies is better than being alone. The meeting ended, and Jake was taken back to Earth in the same beam of light. When he appeared in his field, hundreds of people were waiting for him. News crews, government officials, and ordinary citizens who wanted to see the man who had saved the world. Colonel Murphy pushed through the crowd to reach him. Jake! How? Do you feel tired? Jake said honestly and confused. A lot has happened. President Williams arrived by helicopter an hour later. She was a small woman with gray hair, but when she spoke, everyone listened. Mr. Parker, she said, shaking his hand. On behalf of the entire world, thank you. You saved us all. I just did what needed to be done, Jake said. The alien offer. President Williams said, what do you think we should do? Jake looked up at the Kethmoran ships still hanging in the sky. They're not like us, but they're not evil either. They have their own way of doing things. If we work together, we might learn from each other. And if we refuse? President Williams asked. They'll leave us alone, Jake said. But someday something worse might come. Having friends in space might be a good idea. Over the next few weeks, Earth's leaders met with the Kethmoran commanders. Slowly, carefully, they worked out the details of an alliance. It wouldn't be easy. Humans and Kethmoran were very different species with different values and customs, but the alliance was approved. Earth would become the first world to join the Kethmoran Empire, as a partner rather than a conquest. Jake's ranch became the center of activity. Alien ships landed in his fields regularly, bringing diplomats and scientists. His simple farmhouse became humanity's first embassy to the stars. The biggest change was Zara. She requested permission to stay on Earth as the first Kethmoran ambassador. Her superiors agreed, recognizing that she understood humans better than anyone else. You could go back to your homeworld, Jake said to her one evening as they watched the sunset. Be a hero to your people. I was exiled from my homeworld, Zara said. I questioned too many orders, asked too many uncomfortable questions. This is my home now. Jake had been learning about Zara's past. She had been a great warrior, but she had refused to participate in the massacre of a peaceful species. Her commanders had called her weak and sent her away from the core worlds. You're not weak, Jake said. You're the strongest person I know. You taught me that strength isn't about conquest, Zara said. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves. The Human-Kethmoran alliance brought changes that no one expected. Human engineers worked with alien scientists to develop new technologies. Kethmoran warriors trained with human soldiers, learning new tactics. Artists from both species created works that neither could have made alone. Jake found himself traveling to other worlds as an ambassador. He met species that had been conquered by the Kethmoran and helped negotiate better treatment for them. His victory over Drax had made him famous across the galaxy, but he always came back to his ranch in Montana. The cattle still needed to be fed, and the fences still needed to be repaired. Some things never changed. 1 year after the challenge, Jake was fixing his truck when Zara came running to him with news. "The High Council has made a decision," she said, out of breath. "They're changing the Empire's policies. No more conquests of peaceful worlds. No more slavery. They want to build alliances instead." "Because of what happened here?" Jake asked. "You showed them that there are other ways to be strong," Zara said. "That cooperation works better than conquest. The Empire is going to focus on protecting smaller worlds from real threats instead of being the threat themselves." Jake smiled. "That's good news." "There's more," Zara said. "They want you to lead a new department? Peaceful first contact with new species. You would travel the galaxy, meeting new civilizations and helping them join the galactic community." Jake thought about it. A year ago, he had been a simple rancher who wanted nothing more than peace and quiet. Now he was being offered a chance to explore the stars and meet alien species. "What do you think?" he asked Zara. "I think you would be good at it," she said. "You understand that different doesn't mean inferior. You know how to find common ground. Would you come with me?" Jake asked. Zara smiled. "Someone has to keep you out of trouble." 6 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of the ship Harmony, watching a new star system come into view. The ship was a joint human-Kethmoran design, built for exploration and diplomacy rather than war. Below them was a planet where a new species had just developed space travel. Jake and his team would make first contact, offering friendship instead of conquest. "Nervous?" Zara asked, joining him at the window. "Always," Jake said. "But that's what keeps me sharp." Jake Parker had started as a rancher who wanted to be left alone. Now he was humanity's first interstellar ambassador, traveling the galaxy and building bridges between species. He had learned that the universe was vast and dangerous, but also full of wonder and possibility. The alien warrior he had rescued had become his partner in exploring the stars. Together, they were proving that different species could work together, that strength came from cooperation, and that sometimes the most important battles were won not with weapons, but with understanding. As their ship approached the new world, Jake felt the same excitement he had felt as a young man joining the Navy. The universe was full of mysteries to solve and friends to make. His quiet life was over, but his greatest adventures were just beginning.